Hi, Evelyn. How you doing? Okay, it's really hard to pick which one is best. I think I did good on all of them. Trying to make something simple and just like the word mark, I wanted to the audience to be able to read it even if it's zoomed out. And I agree with that. That's a very important consideration. I want to take a look at your word marks, and then I have a few examples I want to show you and I want to talk about a little bit. So I think that let me just back down a little bit so we can see that whole thing. Okay, so I think one of the things that when you're looking at monograms, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more difficult to encode meaning in a monogram, definitely than compared to a logo proper, and definitely again compared to a word mark because you have the luxury of being able to actually use the entire word. Sorry about that. My mic was on and it was doing something weird. So sorry about that. So anyway, as I was saying, so you have the luxury of using the whole word in order to encode meaning with a word mark. In a monogram, it's a little different. You only have the letters, so you really are dependent on the language that the typeface itself speaks. Okay, and that's really important because in a word like so, what do we have with Guardian Network Security? We have GNS. Can we just go and start assembling GNS in any typeface? No, we can't because not any typeface is going to encode the meaning of this secure, strong, secure visual posture that other typefaces might tend to represent. Okay, that I think is a given, and I think that you understand that completely. And you showing that in a lot of your sketches, you're showing these strong all cap, very strong. But in others, I'm a little concerned because you're showing a little bit more of a kind of a finessed kind of look, which doesn't really indicate the strong stature of security. I hope I'm making sense. I've got some examples to show you. Now, one of the things I think is that you mentioned and I'll show you those examples in a second. And then, okay, over here, for example, you have GNS and kind of this scripted typeface. And I don't think this is working because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look strong. It doesn't look secure. It looks a little bit more dainty, a little more finessed, a little more fine-tuned, and not representing the strong, secure typeface. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so, and then over here, this is an issue too, and you actually talked about that in your written rationale because it looks like it has endless where was that? Yeah, right here. The word mark, you want the audience to be able to read it even if it's zoomed out. And there you're going to have some issues with a typeface like this because that is going to change at smaller sizes. I'm going to show you an example, and I'm going to use Caitlin's, one of her submissions. And Caitlin, I hope you don't mind I'm using this as an example, but I just want to I think this is a perfect example. So here is what we would see as being, looks awesome, right? It looks amazing, very cool, nice typeface, but there is an inherent issue with this typeface. And we can see right here at a smaller size what's happening. And it's very easy to see when we zoom out. These little close fine lines and all the little minute fine details of that are inherent in many typefaces will not work at varying sizes. And let me just show you what happens when we zoom out on that. See how that gets darker? See how that gets darker? Let's do it again. Go down to 80 or 75%. Now it's completely changing posture, visual posture. That crossbar, the H, now becomes one single crossbar as opposed to the two. So it looks thicker than the other strokes, and it's creating inconsistencies. The stroke typeface itself, see how that's stroked? It's got a white center, completely gone at even, at this size. You can't even tell it's a stroke anymore. And then when we get down to something that would be used on a business card, now it just looks completely inconsistent because everything that those fine lines that are located in those fine minute lines located so close to each other with this thin white stroke between are now starting the visual, this kind of a visual phenomenon of creating one line, and that line looks thicker than the other lines. And that is a problem, and I think you allude to that problem in your writing right here, able to read it even if it's zoomed out. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that as an example. Let's go back to your sketches. So something like this could feasibly be a cause, I say theoretically could cause some production issues, definitely some visual changes at varying sizes. So I've gone through the fine little kind of scripted typefaces. Those aren't working. The little stroke with the dashed lines isn't going to work because it would probably compromise its visual tenor at smaller sizes. Which leaves us with what, Evelyn? It leaves us with a strong typeface. Now, encoding can be done. I'm going to show you another example, and this is from Bradley. And Bradley, this is interesting because this is Guardian Network Security. And what he's done here is he's created the G for Guardian, and that kind of represents this outer protective wall. And then inside it's NS, so Guardian Network Security. So network security is being protected within this inner space of the G that's created this outer protective wall. Okay, makes sense? You know, we see the same to a lesser degree here and here. And we even see that to a lesser degree here with each of the letter forms inside its own protective kind of encapsulation. Okay, so I just want to see it out now. It is possible to make encoding, to encode some meaning using just a monogram, but it's not as easy done as said. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and say I think your strongest solutions are something like this, where it's a very, very strong, solid typeface. And I'm going to show you one final example here just to kind of reiterate my point. And all I did here is I just went up here and just for the heck of it, I just Googled, what did I use? Network security logo. And the reason I did this is I kind of want you to take a look at some of the typefaces. Look at how strong and upright and secure that typeface is. Thick strokes, impenetrable, as it were. The same thing we can see here. PCI, solids, thick, nothing dainty here. This is solid, a very, very strong visual representation, PCI. And we see this kind of over and over and over. TERA, all caps, good, solid typeface, very stoic, very strong, upright, Roman orientation, very, very good, representing a good, strong, solid typeface. And we can see the same thing over and over and over. This PSA security network is a little bit different. It's on this kind of oblique slant, kind of indicating this perpetual moving forward. And that's another kind of possibility that you could use, is this forward moving, though this doesn't seem as strong visually as maybe something like this. Look how strong that is. Okay? So those would be my comments moving forward. And I don't like to tell you guys what, let me get rid of that. I don't like to say, okay, this is what, use this one and move forward with it. I like to let you guys make your own decisions based on the information and some of the reactions that I've given in terms of basic visual communication and the message that you're trying to portray to represent your company. Okay, so I'm over 8 minutes. Didn't really want to do that. I wanted to make this a little bit more brief, but I just really want you to understand. Now go ahead and move forward. And if you have any questions or if you need help, let me know. But just take my considerations into account and move forward in the way that you feel is the most appropriate after listening to my comments and concerns. All right? Good job. Thank you so much. And as I said, any questions, if I can clarify anything, please let me know. All right. Thank you.